I was cleaning rooms on the top floor of the hotel during the afternoon shift, the hallway quiet and peaceful, except for the sound of my cart rolling slowly over the thick carpet that muffled every footstep and made the corridors feel almost unnaturally silent. The hotel was expensive and luxurious, the kind of place where everything smells perpetually clean with a hint of lavender or eucalyptus, where everything looks absolutely perfect from the moment you step through the gleaming doors, where guests rarely think about how much work it takes to keep it that way, how many hands touch every surface to maintain that illusion of effortless elegance. I knocked on a door politely, announced myself clearly in case anyone was inside, and entered slowly to change the sheets and towels, moving carefully and methodically like I always do, like I've done thousands of times before, making sure every corner is tucked perfectly, every surface is spotless, every detail is exactly right. As I stepped back into the hallway moments later with my arms full of used linens, I heard voices coming from the elevator area down the hall. Voices that carried easily in the quiet afternoon atmosphere. A group of guests had just arrived on this floor, dressed well in designer clothes that probably cost more than I make in a month, laughing loudly about something, talking about their trip and their plans like the entire floor belonged exclusively to them, like they owned every inch of this space. One woman glanced dismissively at me and my uniform, the simple blue dress that marked me as staff, as someone in service, and said with exaggerated disbelief, "Wow, I could never do that job. I honestly don't know how anyone does it," shaking her head as if the very thought was unbearable to contemplate. Another woman in the group laughed sharply and replied with casual cruelty, "At least someone has to clean up after us, right? Someone has to do the dirty work." And they all smiled knowingly, like it was harmless conversation, like their words had no weight, like I wasn't standing right there hearing every syllable. They didn't lower their voices at all. They didn't care if I heard them clearly. They didn't consider for even a moment that their words might hurt someone who was simply trying to do their job with dignity. I pushed my cart forward steadily down the hallway, pretending. I didn't notice their comments, pretending the words didn't settle heavy in my chest like stones, pretending their casual dismissal of my humanity didn't cut deeper than they could possibly imagine. I've been a hotel housekeeper for 6 long years now. 6 years of endless repetition and physical labor. Long, exhausting shifts that leave you depleted, back pain that becomes constant and familiar, rushing frantically to clean rooms before check-in times arrive, fixing messes that people leave behind and pretend don't exist, dealing with situations that would embarrass most people but that I'm expected to handle without complaint or judgment. Most guests never look at you directly when you pass in the hallways, never make eye contact, never acknowledge your existence as a human being sharing their space. Some guests leave thank you notes on pillows or small tips that make your entire day brighter, that remind you that some people see you and appreciate your work. Others leave nothing but trash scattered across floors, stains on carpets, and an atmosphere of entitlement that hangs in the air long after they've checked out and moved on to their next destination. That day, as I wiped down mirrors until they were completely streak-free, and remade beds with hospital corners and fluffed pillows, I kept hearing their voices echoing in my head on an endless loop. Someone has to clean up after us, as if I wasn't a person with feelings and dignity and a life beyond these hallways. As if this work didn't require effort and skill and care and pride in doing things properly. As if my existence was purely functional, defined entirely by my service to them. Later that afternoon, after completing several more rooms, I returned to one of the suites to drop off fresh towels that had been requested earlier. The door was standing open slightly, which usually meant guests were still inside or had just stepped out briefly. Inside, an older gentleman was sitting quietly by the large window, looking out at the city skyline stretching below, lost in thought, his posture relaxed and contemplative. I hesitated at the doorway, not wanting to intrude on his privacy, then asked softly and respectfully, "I'm sorry to disturb you. Would you like me to come back later when it's more convenient?" He turned slowly and smiled warmly at me, a genuine smile that reached his eyes. "No, you're fine. Please come in," he said kindly. "You work harder than anyone else in this entire place. You deserve more recognition than you receive." I froze completely, my hand still on the door handle. He had heard everything that had been said earlier in the hallway. "I've been watching throughout the day. He continued with sincerity in his voice. You clean every single room with care and attention to detail, even when no one thanks you, even when no one notices, even when guests leave behind disasters that would make most people quit on the spot. My throat tightened with unexpected emotion. You know, he said, settling back in his chair, I used to travel constantly for work all the time, decades of business trips taking me all over the world. I stayed in hotels like this one constantly, sometimes 3 or 4 different cities in a single week. He paused thoughtfully, collecting his memories. And the people who genuinely made my life easier and more comfortable were never the ones at the front desk wearing expensive suits or the executives in meetings discussing strategies. It was people like you, the ones who made sure my room was clean and comfortable, who replaced my towels without being asked, who noticed small details and fixed them before I even realized something was wrong. He stood up slowly, his movements careful and deliberate, and took a few steps toward me. Don't ever let anyone make you feel small or insignificant for doing honest work, he said firmly. The world doesn't run on the people who take credit. It runs on the people who actually do the work, who show up every day and put in the effort regardless of recognition or reward. I nodded silently, unable to speak past the lump in my throat, unable to find words adequate to express what his kindness meant to me. He reached out and gently patted my shoulder in a gesture of respect and solidarity. You matter, he said simply. Your work matters. Never forget that. As I left the room carefully with tears threatening to spill from my eyes, the hallway felt different somehow, lighter and more welcoming. The guests from earlier were gone now, checked into their rooms or out exploring the city. The laughter that had stung so sharply was gone, disappeared into the afternoon. And suddenly, their words didn't matter anymore. Didn't carry the weight they had before, didn't define my worth or my value. I finished my shift tired as always, my body aching in all the familiar places, my feet sore from hours of standing and walking, my back protesting every movement. But something fundamental had changed inside me. I'm still a hotel housekeeper today and will be tomorrow. I still clean rooms that guests check out of and immediately forget. Rooms that become memories of vacations or business trips, but never memories of the person who made those rooms comfortable. But I know now with absolute certainty that dignity doesn't come from who notices you or who acknowledges your work publicly. It comes from knowing deep in your heart the true value of what you do, from understanding that your work contributes something essential to the world, from taking pride in doing things properly and thoroughly regardless of recognition. If you've ever been made to feel invisible while working hard every single day, if you've ever been dismissed because your job doesn't come with a fancy title or corner office, if you've ever questioned your worth because society doesn't celebrate the work you do, remember this story and hold it close to your heart. Someone always notices your effort and dedication, even when it feels like no one does. Even when days pass without thanks or acknowledgement, even when you wonder if anything you do makes any difference at all. The people who remember acts of kindness, who notice quality work, who appreciate effort and care, may not always speak up in the moment, but they carry that recognition with them and it changes how they see the world. And if you've ever looked down on someone for the work they do, if you've ever made jokes about service workers or treated them as invisible parts of the background, remember that every person you encounter has a story, has struggles, has dignity that deserves respect regardless of their uniform or their role. The measure of a society isn't found in its wealthiest citizens or its most celebrated achievements. It's found in how it treats the people who do essential work that keeps everything functioning smoothly. The people who clean and serve and maintain and care for others without seeking glory or recognition. Your work has meaning not because others acknowledge it, but because you know in your heart that you're contributing something real and necessary, that you're making spaces comfortable for others, that you're part of what makes the world work. Never let anyone's casual cruelty or thoughtless words diminish the pride you take in doing your job well, in showing up consistently, in maintaining your dignity even when others fail to recognize it.